Good morning and welcome back to Sophomore Seminar. I'm going to be doing these short videos on YouTube. I can only do 10 minutes at a time, so sometimes there'll be 2 or 3, maybe even 4 of me or other YouTube videos for you to watch, things to think about, things to do. Today we're going to work on cover letters, and if you go to your handouts today, you will see 6 pages of cover letter handouts that include do's and don'ts, a checklist for your quality cover letter, and then 4 explicit examples of what a cover letter looks like. And when you attach your cover letter over the next week to an email back to me, it will have a format just like one of these 4 examples have that you have in your handouts this week. So at about the 10-minute mark, I'm going to get off of here, and then I'll do the second part. So let's get on it. And all these things, all are important. If you don't have a perfect cover letter, you're not going to do perfect work for me, and I'm not going to hire you. That's the way people feel. If you have grammar mistakes, a machine or a person will toss it out, even though you might have been the perfect person for that job. So you have to follow each and every one of these perfectly in order to be considered for most jobs. Now, you might get a job without being perfect, and you might get a job for doing a cover letter and a resume differently than what I'm going to teach you. But what I want to see is if you can follow directions to do an appropriate, perfect cover letter and resume in the ways that I'm going to explain over the next few weeks. So you don't ever, when you get your handouts, you'll see cover letter do's and don'ts. I'm going to go down over this list. Not everyone, but a lot of them. Resumes must have a cover letter. You have to have a cover letter. Your letter must be sent to a named individual. I will expect that wherever you, well, first of all, you will be writing a cover letter as though you are applying for a volunteer opportunity, an internship, or a job for this coming summer. Pretend. When you know what company, organization you want to send a letter to, you need to get the name of a person who's going to read that letter. And if that means you need to get on the telephone and call and ask who will read your letter, do that. I expect to see your letter composed to a particular person, not to whom it may concern or hiring manager. In well over 9 out of 10 cases, you will be able to find a name of the person who would read your resume if you actually chose to send it. So your letter must be sent to a named individual, and I will expect that. Don't use salutations such as gentlemen. It's Mr., Ms., or Doctor. Don't write a boring introduction. You're trying to sell yourself. You're trying to sell the fact that you have the experience, you have the accomplishments, you have the knowledge to help the person reading this fill the job need that they have. It's the only reason you're writing this letter, to help somebody else fill a job need by hiring you. So make sure the right person is going to read this letter, and don't give boring stuff in the first paragraph. It's irrelevant. Send an original letter to each employer. And when you send an original letter, if you're doing more than one job application in a day, make sure you change the name of the job you're applying for. I remember having a job available at the University of the Arts in Philadelphia for a tutorial coordinator. And I get a job application with a cover letter of somebody who wants to be a music educator. Now, why in heaven's name would I hire someone who wants to be a music educator for a short period of time, even if qualified, to be a tutorial coordinator for me, when that's not the person's professional desires in the future? Make sure you change the job that you're applying for. Since you're just doing one cover letter here, that shouldn't be a problem. Don't use cliches like, please find my resume, enclosed is my resume. When you actually send this to a potential employer, you'll have your cover letter and your resume attached. It'll be right there. Yeah. Don't depend on your employer to take action. In your last paragraph, you must say something like, I will call back within a week to answer any questions you may have for me. Don't simply allow the person reading this letter to have full control over what happens next. Tell them you're going to call back within a week to answer any questions they may have. And when you call, you'll probably get a secretary. That person will likely not put you through to whoever you wrote this letter to. But that person will know whether or not that person has any questions, or will give a message to the person you sent this to so that they know you've called back. You're interested in the job. You've shown you're interested, and you're following up. The only reason not to do that is if in the job ad it says, don't follow up, don't call. And some job ads do. Your cover letter can contain no typos, no misspellings, no incorrect grammar, no punctuation problems, can have no smudges, grease from yesterday's lunch. It has to be perfect. Or you haven't shown your potential employer that you know how to do things in a perfect way. So they're not going to hire you. Keep your letter brief, meaning never more than one page. We will get into what goes in the first paragraph, the middle paragraph or two, and the last paragraph soon, but your cover letter never is more than one page. I wish I had known that when I was your age. I used to send long cover letters. Bad mistake, but I didn't know it. Get to the point. That first paragraph has to say exactly what job you're applying for. The person reading the letter, if they're a hiring manager, may have 6 job openings, and if you don't say what job exactly you're applying for, they're not going to spend the time reading down over your cover letter trying to understand what job you're applying for. Your first paragraph, what job are you applying for? How did you hear about it? If it's from a person who works there, tell them. If it's from a friend, tell them how you read or heard about the job opening. They'll want to know that because they've put money maybe into different types of ads. So they want to know how people have learned about their job opening. Answer the question the employer is going to be asking as he or she looks through your letter. Why should I hire this person? There is no other reason for you to be writing and sending this letter than to convince someone to hire you. Be sure that at the top of your letter you include your address, your phone number, your email address, an appropriate email address. Share your top selling points. We'll get into that in a little bit. Your checklist for the quality cover letter. As you can see here from the handouts, your name and all personal information is in the single spaced at the top. One line, one space, the date, one space, the name of the person you're sending this to, their title, where they work, the name of the place they work, street address, city, state, zip, space, dear Mr., Ms., or Doctor, space, and then your first paragraph. After your first paragraph, space. After your second paragraph, space. After your third paragraph, if you have one, space. Your final paragraph, space. Sincerely, space, so that you have a place to sign in the middle there. This is the format that you are to use. Don't deviate. Your first paragraph specifically states how and where you saw or learned about this opening. Your second paragraph states how you will be able to help the place you are applying to meet their needs. This is where you need to sell yourself by explaining your unique brand. Make sure you double and triple check your letter to make sure everything is perfect. Now I'm going to stop this right now and do a second video of cover letters so that I get everything on YouTube. Check part 2.